My name is Kevin Reese, and I'm here with Dr. Susan Martin of the University of South Alabama. Today, we're going to be discussing technology use in the classroom. Dr. Martin, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
Okay, could you tell me a little bit about what you do at South Alabama?
Yeah, sure. I am the director of a couple of graduate programs teaching English as a second language, foreign language education, and English for speakers of other languages. And I advise undergraduate math and English education students. Okay. And I teach courses in the secondary program for most of the master's students who come through for College of Education.
All right, thank you for telling us that. Okay, well, I've noticed since I've started EDM310 that there's a lot of pros and cons to using technology in the classrooms. I also would like to, know a little bit more about why there's so many cons versus the pros, because it seems like technology used in the classroom is a great tool to use. Can you tell a little bit about what you think about that?
Sure, I do think it's a great tool to use. But I think that a lot of the cons come from teachers not really knowing what's available to them and not necessarily knowing how to use the technology and how to implement it. Okay. I've heard a lot of teachers say that they feel like it is like smart boards and things of that nature are like a toy, okay. or part of it comes from not having the time to look up the resources to use on the smart board. The great thing is if more training were implemented and more knowledge maybe during teacher workshops and professional development about what tools are available, a lot of teachers would find that there are things already there that people have published for them to use. There's a site that a lot of teachers are becoming more aware of called the Smart Exchange. Okay. And that is a place where you could upload things that you have created for the smart board and other teachers can use it. And the idea is it's free because everyone is sharing, borrowing, and then giving back things that they have created. Okay. And one good thing about it is that resources on the Smart Exchange get ratings. So you can go on and know what's junk, okay. and what's good, what are good resources. Okay. My last year teaching in Auburn City Schools, I taught biology and English, and I was able to use the smart board in my classroom to demonstrate dissection of different organisms that we didn't necessarily have the resources to order, or even if I could order a few, I couldn't order an entire class set of, fetal pigs or bovine hearts and things of that nature. And so it was great because my students got to interact with those things anyway, whereas that wouldn't have been available to them if we hadn't had that technology. So I think a lot of the cons do come in where people misunderstand how technology is being used. I think it's not trying to replace good old-fashioned teaching and good skills and oral communication, but it can be used to supplement and to teach and to reach kids who it's kind of what they're interested in anyway. Most kids, I think by the time they're in 6th grade, most of them have smartphones now. Okay. Yes, and so they're already familiar with the technology, and I think it's another great way to reach them. There's a lot of apps that are now available for smartphone that I think are great for kids. I know there's a lot of things that are not positive about technology, but I do think that the positive does outweigh the negative for things that make things more accessible for kids. One thing that, as someone who teaches online a lot, that I am noticing is that a lot of people respond to technology, but a lot of people still like face-to-face interaction. Okay. And for that reason, even though I like teaching online, I like the fact that it reaches out to a lot of people who otherwise couldn't be in a classroom, in a seat, because they're working and trying to further their education. We're trying to work on offering multiple formats so that we're not doing away with technology, but we're kind of expanding our use of it. So if you were a graduate student of mine, you wanted to come sit in my classroom, you could. Okay. If you wanted to tune in from home, you could. Right. And if you were working during the day and couldn't be in my class, but you wanted to view it later, it would be there for you. So I think instead of doing away with technology and saying, no, it's not working, and instead of saying, online, being in a classroom isn't working, I think those things still work, but we can find ways to utilize all of them.
Okay, so do you think the old way that people used to do stuff is just embedded in their mentalities to the point of where they're not really seeing what the technology can do for the classroom?
I think that's possible. I think it's possible. Maybe due to lack of professional development and someone showing you how it works. If you haven't interactive with new technologies a lot. It can be intimidating,
Okay. Yeah.
especially if you do have some good ways of teaching that have worked well.
Right.
And I'm not going to pretend that the first time you go through it, or this first couple of years you go through it, it's going to be easier, because yes, it does take some work to get used to using those
Okay.
skills, and you do have to rethink the activities you do in your classroom if you're going to incorporate technology. But I like to suggest to teachers who are in training and teachers who are pre-service, they're doing their student teaching, they're doing methods, haven't quite gotten into the classroom fully yet, that you don't have to do it all at once.
Okay.
If you have a goal for yourself of, let's say this week in these lessons, I'm going to incorporate 2 SMART activities,
Okay.
and they'll be 10 or 15 minutes each.
Okay.
Then I think that you can start to add things, and you'll see that it's not overwhelming.
Okay.
It doesn't. I think too many people think, okay, now I'm going to have to do everything with smart technologies. I'm going to have to completely rethink everything I've done.
Okay.
No, if you've been teaching for a while, it's highly likely that what you've been doing is working, because you've stayed in the profession. So if you can see it as just something that you can add to what you're doing little by little,
Okay.
instead of taking it all on at once, I think that teachers are more successful at doing it that way.
Okay. This has been Kevin Reese with Dr. Susan Martin at the University of South Alabama. Thank you.